How's dinner? Tov tov? Good, good? Can you say dinner is tov? Tov, oh, and it's tov ma'od for some. That means very, very good. Okay, great. So we're going to give this about 2 more minutes, so enjoy your hamantashen, your ozne chaman, Haman's hat, Haman's ears. Wait, can you hear me? Is that what you're saying? Louder! Bachir is not known for raising her voice, so this is a great Purim challenge. This is what the rest of the evening is going to look like, my holy friends. In just a moment, I have the pleasure of asking Karen Goodman, who's with us on Zoom, and she is the president of Beth Or. They are joining us this evening in this gorgeous collaboration of creating this event for everybody. And then Matthew Rudolph, who is the president of Or Shalom, will come up, say a few words. That'll happen just before the spiel. When they're finished, we'll go right into our spiel. The ensemble, we'll go right into a musical ensemble. Of course, I'm so sorry, yes. And they will bring us into, they will usher in the spiel. Okay, so maybe while you're finishing up eating, if you can focus in on this, that would be wonderful. Karen Goodman, are you there with us? There you are. I see you waving your hand. And if you could unmute, and if everyone here could please bring our attention, and maybe she can be highlighted. There she is. Hi, Chag Sameach.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Who would have thought that COVID could make Purim the most exciting event of my life since I was a child and even since my child was a child? Welcome, everyone. Welcome. It is so nice to witness all of you there and all of you online. Thank you so much. I forgot to look up your name again. Bay Area Coalition, I think. All of you temples up there. We are so happy to be joining you from Southern California and from points east, some points far east, friends of ours. We look forward to this so much. Welcome all of you, and a blessing, a Purim blessing for continued life and growth for all of us. Thanks.
Amen. Amen to that. Karen, thank you for that beautiful blessing. We're all giving that a hearty amen here on our end. Thank you for being a part of this and for your beautiful words. And now the president of Or Shalom, Matthew Rudolph, is here. Of course.
Which mic should I use?
This one is good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's nice and hot.
Great. Chag Sameach, everyone.
Chag Sameach.
I'm been transformed into Dumbledore, and thank you. Thank you for being here online and in person. It's great to have these 4 Hogwarts houses of worship together. I'm not sure which one we are aligned to at Or Shalom, but I think we're all good people. So it's great. This is an exciting thing to see everybody here. And I'm going to give the online folks on Zoom some Zoom tips. First, we are going to have everyone muted. Silencio. But don't think we don't want to hear from you during today's event. You can use reactions. There's, depending if you're the house of Mac or the house of PC, the buttons may be in different places, but at the bottom, you'll see a button for reactions or filters and costumes that Zoom can give you. You can go to the caret next to the video icon and open it up to change your filters. Crinus muto. Please be visible if you are okay with that. We love to see you here, as you can see us there, yay for that. But remember that you are visible, and there may be times that your video feed is highlighted in the course of the evening. We will be recording this and posting it afterwards. There is a button on your Zoom that you can hit to turn it on and off. Evanesco! And open your chat to see the words for songs. So there's a little chat button clicking thing that you can hit for the songs, words to songs, or if you want to type in your booze for Haman. And you also see that there's speaker and gallery view. There will be times that you can see everybody at the same time, but you may want, in the spiel scenes, to use the speaker view. And now, a Harry Potter Purim. Exilado!
Okay, I sense a very strong Harry Potter theme going on up here. I don't have a wand. Okay, so the beautiful Shalom musical ensemble, thank you again for gracing us with your beauty.
Does everybody remember my hat? It has 3 corners. If you have a kid at the table, they know it, right? Okay, so we're going to sing My Hat, It Has 3 Corners. And they're hand motions, and I think the kids know the hand motions. So we're going to start with put your hand over here in your heart. My hat, it has 3 corners. Your elbow's a great corner. 3 corners has my hat. And if it did not have 3 corners, it would not be my hat. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of some of the words and only use the symbols. Are you ready? Are we ready?
Are we ready?
Okay.
Okay. 2 bars for nothing. 1, 2, 3.
My hat, it has 3 corners. 3 corners has my hat. And if it had 3 corners, it would not be my hat. Okay, now we're not going to say the word hat, okay? It has 3 corners. 3 corners has my. If it did not have 3 corners, it would not be my. Now we're not going to say the word mine, okay? It has 3 corners. 3 corners has. If it did not have 3 corners, it would not be. Now what's the next one we're going to get rid of? 3. It has corners has. If it did not have corners, it would not be. Okay, now the last one is corners. Uh-oh. It has. If it did not have, it would not be. Now let's sing all the words. My hat. My hat, it has 3 corners. 3 corners has my hat. If it did not have 3 corners, it would not be my hat. Hagarisha, Bara Hashanim. Purim Day, such a happy holiday. Wear a mask, sing a song, laugh and play all day. Round the rockers, rock, rock, rock. Round the rockers, rock, rock, rock. Round the rockers, rock, rock, rock. On this Purim Day. Round the rockers, rock, rock, rock. Round the rockers, rock, rock, rock. Round the rockers, rock, rock, rock. On this Purim Day. Misha, 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 Niklas, Adar, Marvin, Besimcha. Misha, Niklas, Adar, Marvin, Besimcha. Misha, 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 Niklas, Adar. Misha, 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 Niklas, Adar. Misha, Niklas, Adar, Marvin, Besimcha. Misha, Niklas, Adar, Marvin, Besimcha.
Okay, is everybody ready? Yes, to watch this amazing spiel before we fulfill the mitzvah of hearing the Megillah. But first, we're going to go on an extraordinary musical journey. Are you ready? Raise your groggers. Woo!
It's gone.
It has nothing to do with my hearing aids. I took them out. Congregation, I'm Tikvah. It's a performance for Purim.
Who'll be the one to take a stand, to rise up and save the day? Sometimes in the course of history, we stand in a troubled place. Which way will things go? We cannot know. We have to rely on faith.
Oh, my dears, this is Professor Trelawney, calling all Hogwarts students. What omens of darkness I see in these, my precious tools of the noble art of divination. Do any of you, I wonder, possess the proper spirit to enter the beyond? Together we can cast ourselves into the future. Oh, but what shadows!
He's got me muted. He has everybody muted. Oh, now it
Those of us
should.
who are gifted with the sight, excuse me, we fear even to look. Goodness, Professor McGonagall, I had no idea you were nearby. I mean, I knew you were coming all along. I had sensed it with my inner eye.
Of course you did, my dear Sybil. But I tell you, I have never seen the Daily Prophet so in a jumble. I simply cannot keep up with the pace of the happenings in our wizarding world. It seems every day, every hour, what am I saying? Nay, every minute, there is something new and disturbing. It's impossible to keep up with it all. Last week feels like years ago, and yet 3 years ago feels like last week. My head keeps snapping so in every direction that my hat threatens to fly off. And what is more, it's impossible to tell what is even true anymore.
But what can we do, dear Professor McGonagall? I, too, am in a muddle. Balloons of mysterious origin floating across the sky. Masks on, masks off. All this talk about you-know-who returning again, and he's still denying the results of the election.
Get a hold of yourself, Sybil. We do not want to unnecessarily frighten the citizens. I mean, the students. Professor Dumbledore has put his trust in all of us, and we must not let him down. Hagrid? Oh, Hagrid.
Hagrid? Oh, there you are.
I'm here for you, professors, at the ready.
Have you collected the new first-year students? Are they ready to be sorted into their houses?
Of course I have. You wouldn't go thinking I'd do anything that'd keep the school year from starting, would you? And I tell you, this lot looks terrific. I tell you, eager a bunch of young hippogriffs there is.
Thank you, Hagrid. We can always count on you.
Got all their books and wands at Diagon Alley. They made their way through platform 9 3/4, and they're ready to go. Specifically, young Harry Potter. Can't believe he was just a little boy last time saw him. With all this talk about you-know-who gathering his forces again, we're going to need all the help we can get if we're going to survive the times ahead.
I knew you were going to say that, Hagrid, and I think I envision a song cue coming. Minerva, I'm afraid, I am petrified. I keep looking at the tea leaves and they've never lied. And I spend oh so many nights thinking how he's done us wrong. And I'm not strong. I don't know how we'll get along. I see he's back from the beyond. No telling just what kind of mess he'll make by brandishing that wand. We should have fortified our castle. Should have learned more magic spells. We never thought for a split second he'd be back to ring our bell.
Now, Sybil, stop. Collect yourself. Just look around with that scared face up on the shelf. Aren't you the one who looked into your crystal ball? Do you think we'll crumble? Do you think we'll give up at all?
Oh, no, not we. We will survive. Oh, as long as we have faith and hope, I know we'll stay alive. All the students will unite. All the professors come and fight, and we'll survive. We will survive. Hey, hey.
Shefefenanu. It's Baruch Atah.
No. Baruch
Shefefenanu.
Huh? Shefechanu.
No, that's
That's not right.
that's something else.
It is something else.
That's something else.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah. It's a chef, not a chay. Yeah,
I
it's
haven't
a
heard of a chef.
it's a chef. There's definitely a chef.
I haven't heard of chef. Where's the
It's
chef coming
between chet and chaf.
from? Is it?
Yeah, it's a chef of a chaf.
Is it? Wow.
Everyone knows this.
I haven't seen that before.
All right, you try it again.
Shefechanu. That's good.
That's Shechefechanu.
Right. We got it.
Yeah, we totally get it. We have this.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Baruch.
Baruch Atah.
Let's try it again.
Ba-
You go first, though.
No, Ron, no, Harry, you're doing it all wrong. It's not Shehechianu, Vikiyamanu, it's Shehechianu, Vikiyamanu. Now, if anyone here is happy to be back together after such a long time, I think we all ought to offer this spell together. Are you ready? And I'll show you this absolutely correct way to do it.
Well, then you do.
I will.
Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. Please join. Shehecheyanu vekiyamanu vehigiyanu lazman hazeh. I told you.
Harry, are you all right?
Yeah, it's my scar.
It's been bothering you a lot lately, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Blimey, Harry. Your scar only hurts when you know who's around. Do you think that's it?
Probably, Ron, but I can't let it get me down. We're gonna meet whatever's coming with the best magic that we can. In a world that's full of witchcraft, with enchantments, spells, and charms, we'll play our part. Every time we mix a potion, we won't lose our nerve, as we've done from the start. Every little thing we do is magic. Every day our powers stretch and grow. Even though our story might turn tragic, supernatural's the way to go.
Do I have to tell the story of 1,000 scary days since you know who? Set the dark mark in the night sky, so get ready for a fateful rendezvous. Clap your hands.
Every little thing we do is magic. Every day our powers stretch and grow. Even though our story might turn tragic, supernatural's the way to go.
We will fight for Dumbledore every single day. Violently we'll carry on in a good old-fashioned way. Even though our time's uncertain, long before we meet our foe, we'll be ready for the challenge. Set your mark, get ready, come let on, let's go. Every little thing we do is magic. Every day our powers stretch and grow. Even though our story might turn tragic, supernatural's the way to go. Every little thing we do is magic. Every day our powers stretch and grow. Even though our story might turn tragic, supernatural's the way to go.
I think you've got it.
We got it.
My friends, we are embarking on a most dangerous
and exciting time. All of our powers, all of our resources will be necessary to face what is to come. But have no fear, we possess within all of us the necessary alchemical talents that can transform this time of darkness into light. Follow my lead, and all will be illuminated.
My students and colleagues, I am so very proud of you. Come, let us continue to practice our skills so that when the time comes, we shall be ready to face the dark wizard.
Silly rabbis. Tricks are for kids.
Who said that? Who's there?
It is I,
Oh.
the darkest wizard of them all. You think you can vanquish me with a few card tricks and by pulling a rabbit out of your keephote? You there, all you witches with your wizard friend. It's now my turn to write a story with unhappy end. Then you'll all bow down to me. The time of reckoning will be, and it's no joke. Time to rise up and get woke because I'm back. So bar the door, you can't escape me. Your little spell will work no more, and the darkness will surround. It's gonna grovel on the ground. I'm not kidding, do my bidding. I'm the notice around.
Wait a minute. You are a guy of you.
You the one that Larry fenced off through the night. We won't surrender, we won't give up without a fight.
Oh no, not you. You won't survive. No matter what you try and what you do, you surely will not fly. I've got all the cards this game, and life will never be the same. You won't survive. You won't survive.
Learn his lesson?
Hagrid, will you help us?
Let me take him, Professor. I'll get him. You know what for?
But he keeps getting away with everything. There has to be a way out of this. Won't someone ever be able to slap handcuffs on this guy?
Listen up, Voldemort. I'm not afraid of you. I turned you into chopped liver once, and I can do it again with onions.
Harry, be careful. Voldemort's the greatest dark wizard of all time. He's known for cozying up to strong wizards all across the magical world and getting people to believe anything if he repeats it enough, no matter how nutty it is.
Young lady, I am hurt by your assessment of me. I would dare say you are even leading a witch hunt against me. But if you are so sure of my malevolent intent, then surely you will now bow down to me.
Wizards don't bow down to anyone.
Very well. You dare challenge me? You say you won't bow down? Then I shall make you dance. Dance! Dance, you fools! Dance like the world is watching because they are.
Wait a minute. Stop. We've fallen under a dangerous spell. We can't give in to this. It isn't magic that we need. Although, my friends, if the tech has worked so far, this is absolutely magic. Please thank your tech crew.
Hermione is correct. It's faith and strength and learning from history so we don't repeat the past. Let's look into the great wisdom, and maybe we will find out something about that past, about a little people who were threatened by a very malevolent force and lived to tell the story.
Oh, I think I saw a reference to that when we did that unit on defeating hatred through the ages in our Defense Against the Dark Arts class.
Defeating hatred.
It may come as a surprise, yes, Ron, but we are not the first generation who has faced this kind of danger.
Wow, Professor. What is that?
This, my boy, over here, is a Megillah.
Can it help us?
Well, gather round, my dears, and let us see. It comes with some instructions, and it seems a bit of a warning about how it is to be read.
Okay, so it says, before you read this Megillah, know this. The power of this story to defeat hatred and resist evil is best enhanced by the following practices.
Number 1, the text should be read aloud in the company of as many well-fed, slightly inebriated, and good-natured Jewish people as possible.
Number 2, it says children must be present.
Number 3, as many people as possible should wear costumes which can reveal or conceal or both.
Number 4, laughter and singing also increase the potency.
The text should be read aloud in the company of drat professors. Where are we going to get a crowd like that? It would take us weeks of advertising, a whole bunch of planning, Facebook, shopping, cooking, decorating, a volunteer, a staff crew like you wouldn't believe, to get a gathering like that together.
Hagrid's right. I wish there was some kind of spell for that.
That's it, Ron. You're brilliant. Let's use that Purim party spell we learned last week from the 7th years.
Yeah, the Purim party spell.
But wait, are you sure you want to do that? Because remember what happened to Neville? He couldn't tell Mordecai from Haman for 3 days straight.
Well, we'll have to take that risk, Harry. Our world is at stake. I have it here. It's the blessing that's said before hearing the story of Esther at Purim.
I knew you would sort it out, Miss Granger. Miss Granger, you are truly the brightest witch of your age.
Oh, posh.
Harry, will you do the honors?
Yes, I would be honored, Professor, absolutely. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu melech haolam,
Eloheinu melech haolam,
asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav,
asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav,
v'tzivanu al mikra ha-megillah.
v'tzivanu al mikra ha-megillah.
Amen.
Amen.
Look, Ron! Look, Harry! The Purim party spell worked! They're here! And I think there are some people in cyberspace with us too. Well, Wingardium Zumiosa to all of you.
Are you ready to hear the Megillah?
Yes.
Ready to stop Haman?
Yes!
Yes! One more song and we'll do it!
It's close to Purim. It's time to read a story from the past. Sing with us.
About Queen Esther and Mordecai, their faith was unsurpassed.
In Shushan town, the
the king was partying for half a year old. Vashti was called to come and dance so all the men could hear. No, she had no fear. Let's read Megillah, Megillah now. On Purim we can do those things we usually don't allow. Let's read Megillah, Megillah now. Call everyone to hear how Haman went down at last somehow.
7, 8, 9, 10. King
Achashverosh, he needed a new queen to wear the crown. Esther was chosen, but Mordecai, he never would bow down. Haman was mad and vowed he'd take revenge upon our nation. But in the end, the plan was foiled and Purim's a sensation, a great celebration. Let's read Megillah, Megillah now. On Purim we can do those things we usually don't allow. Let's read Megillah, Megillah now. Call everyone to hear how Haman went down at last somehow.
Well, you all did very, very well. I'm sorry that our word spell got stuck, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. You've all been brilliant, and we're ready to read the Megillah. And for those of you who can make it to the end of the Megillah, we have a very special closing song that you won't want to miss. If you are a reader for chapter 1, please make sure that you are ready to come up onto the bima from this side, or any subsequent chapters.
Chag Sameach. Oh, I think we can do better than that. We're still here. Chag Sameach. All right, now we have it going. I am honored to begin the reading of the Megillah this evening. We'll start with the blessings. Please join me and or say Amen very robustly. There is a yellow handout where you can follow the text of the Megillah reading, which this lovely professor is holding up in the air right now, and you can just give a little wave if your area of the room has not received one. So please encourage to follow along with the reading in the yellow handout, and we will guide you along as we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al mikra Megillah. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim lavotenu bayamim ha'hem bazman hazeh. Blessed are you, God, who has commanded us with wonderful mitzvot, and including the reading of this Megillah. Blessed are you, God, who did miracles for our ancestors in those days and at this time. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Blessed is God who has given us life, sustained us, and brought us here together on this day.
Amen.
Chapter 1, verse 1. ויהי בימי אחשוורוש, הוא אחשוורוש המולך מהודו ועד כוש, 27 מדינה, בימים ההם ושבט המלך אחשוורוש על כיסא מלכותו אשר בשושן הבירה. בשנת 3 למלכו עשה משתה לכל שריו ועבדיו, חיל פרס ומדי הפטמים שרי המדינות לפניו, בהראותו את עושר כבוד מלכותו ואת היקר תפארת גדולתו, ימים רבים 80 יום.
It happened in the days of Ahasuerus, whose no one's name can pronounce, who reigned over 127 provinces from India to Nubia. In those days, when King Ahasuerus occupied the royal throne in the fortress Shushan, in the 3rd year of his reign, he gave a banquet for all the officials and courtiers, the administration of Persia and Media, the nobles and the governors of the provinces in his service. For no fewer than 180 days, he displayed the vast riches of his kingdom and the splendid glory of his majesty. At the end of this period, the king gave a banquet for 7 days in the court of the king's palace garden for all the people who lived in the fortress Shushan, high and low alike. There were hangings of white cotton and blue wool, caught up by cords of fine linen, and purple wool to silver rods and alabaster columns. And there were couches of gold and silver on a pavement of marble, alabaster, mother of pearl, and mosaics. Royal wine was served in abundance, as befits a king, in golden beakers, beakers of varied design. And the rule for the drinking was no restrictions, for the king had given orders that every palace steward to comply with each man's wishes. In addition, Queen Vashti gave a banquet for women in the royal palace of King Ahasuerus. On the 7th day, when the king was merry with wine, he ordered Mechaman, Bizarra, Habona, Bigita, Abagatha, Zetho, and Caracas, the 7 eunuchs in attendance on King Ahasuerus, to bring Queen Vashti before the king, wearing a royal diadem to display her beauty to the peoples and the officials, for she was a very beautiful woman.
But Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command. Go, Rock. Conveyed by the eunuchs. The king was greatly incensed, and his fury burned within him. Then the king consulted the sages, learned in procedure, for it was the royal practice to turn to all who were versed in law and precedent. His closest advisors were Karshena, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsena, and Memuman, the 7 ministers of Persia and Media who had had access to the royal process. What he asked shall be done according to law to Queen Vashti for failing to obey the command of King Ahasuerus conveyed to the eunuchs. Thereupon Memucan declared in the presence of the king and the ministers, Queen in the presence of Persia and me. Maybe I'll try this one. Okay, much better. Thank you. Thereupon, Memucan declared in the presence of the king and ministers, Queen Vashti has committed an offense not only against your majesty, but also against all the officials and against all the peoples in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus. for the queen's behavior will make all wives despise their husbands, as they reflect that King Ahasuerus himself ordered Queen Vashti to be brought before him, but she would not come. The plot thickens. This very day, the ladies of Persia and Media, who have heard of the queen's behavior, will cite it to all your majesty's officials. There will be no end of scorn and provocation. If it please your majesty, let a royal edict be issued by you, and let it be written into the laws of Persia and Media, so that it cannot be abrogated, that Vashti shall never enter the presence of King Ahasuerus. And let your majesty bestow her royal state upon another who is more worthy than she. Then will the judgments executed by your majesty resound throughout your realm, vast though it is, and all wives will treat their husbands with respect, high and low alike. The proposal was approved by the king, of course, and the ministers, and the king did as Memucan proposed. Dispatches were sent to all the provinces of the king, to every province in his own script, and to every nation in its own language, that every man should wield authority in his home and speak the language of his own people.
Chapter 2. אחר הדברים האלה כשחמת המלך אחשוורוש זכר את ושתי ואת אשר עשתה ואת אשר נגזר עליה ויאמרו נערי המלך משרתיו יבקשו למלך נערות בתולות טובות מראה ויפקד המלך פקידים בכל מדינות מלכותו ויקבצו את כל נערה בתולה טובת מראה אל שושן הבירה אל בית הנשים אל יד הגה סריס המלך שומר הנשים ונתון תמרוקיהם ונערה אשר תיטב בעיני המלך תמלוך תחת ושתי וייטב הדבר בעיני המלך ויעש כן.
Sometime afterward, when the anger of King Ahasuerus subsided, he thought of Vashti and what she had done and what had been decreed against her. The king's servants who attended him said, "Let beautiful young virgins be sought out for your majesty, and let your majesty appoint officers in every province of your realm to assemble all the beautiful young virgins at the fortress Shushan. And let the maiden who pleases your majesty be queen instead of Vashti." The proposal pleased the king, and he acted upon it. In the fortress Shushan lived a Jew by the name of Mordecai, son of Jair, son of Shemaiah, son of Kish, a Benjaminite. He was foster father to Hadassah, that is, Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father or mother. The maiden was shapely and beautiful, and when her father and mother died, Mordecai adopted her as his own daughter. When the king's order and edict was proclaimed, and when many girls were assembled in the fortress Shushan, Esther too was taken into the king's palace under the supervision of Haggai, guardian of the women. The girl pleased him and won his favor, and he hastened to furnish her with her cosmetics and her rations, as well as with the 7 maids who were due to her from the king's palace. And he treated her and her maids with special kindness in the harem. Esther did not reveal her people or her kindred, for Mordecai had told her not to reveal it. Every single day, Mordecai would walk about in front of the court of the harem to learn how Esther was faring and what was happening to her.
When each girl's turn came to go to King Ahasuerus at the end of the 12-month treatment prescribed for women, for that was the period spent on beautifying them, 6 months with oil of myrrh and 6 months with perfume and women's cosmetics. And it was after that that the girl would go to the king. Whatever she asked for would be given her to take with her from the harem to the king's palace. She would go in the evening and leave in the morning for a second harem in charge of Gaz, the king's eunuch, guardian of the concubines. She would not go again to the king unless the king wanted her, when she would be summoned by name. When the turn came for Esther, daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had adopted her as his own daughter, to go to the king, she did not ask for anything but what Haggai, the king's eunuch, guardian of the women, advised. Yet Esther won the admiration of all who saw her. Esther was taken to King Ahasuerus in his royal palace in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. The king loved Esther more than all the other women, and she won his grace and favor more than all the virgins. So he set a royal diadem on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti.
The king gave a great banquet for all his officials and courtiers, the banquet of Esther. He proclaimed a remission of taxes for the provinces and distributed gifts as befits a king. When the virgins were assembled a second time, Mordecai sat in the palace gate. But Esther still did not reveal her kindred or her people as Mordecai had instructed her, for Esther obeyed Mordecai's bidding as she had done when she was under his tutelage. At that time, when Mordecai was sitting in the palace gate, Bigthan and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs who guarded the threshold, became angry and plotted to do away with King Ahasuerus. Mordecai learned of it and told it to Queen Esther. And Esther reported it to the king in Mordecai's name. The matter was investigated and found to be so, and the two were impaled on stakes. This was recorded in the book of Annals at the instance of the king.
Okay, Jews, and all of our beloved guests who have joined us to celebrate Purim this evening. This is the time to start revving it up. Because we have arrived at chapter 3, which is everyone's favorite chapter, because this is the time when, in just 1 minute, I will be saying the name of somebody, at which point we will be following the teaching to blot out the name of this person who persecuted. So now is the time. Break out your noisemakers. Let's do a little vocal warm-up, shall we? Okay, so here's how we say it. Boo. Okay, here we go. Boo. Great. Now a nice high one. Boo. All right, now a nice boo. Okay, a real nice soft one. Boo. Okay, and our heartiest boo. Boo. Okay, I think we are all warmed up. This is chapter 3.
Sometime afterward, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. He advanced him and seated him. Page. He seated him higher than any of his fellow officials. All the king's courtiers in the palace gate knelt and bowed low to Haman, for such was the king's order concerning him. But Mordecai would not kneel or bow low. Then the king's courtiers who were in the palace gate said to Mordecai, "Why do you disobey the king's order?" When they spoke to him day after day, and he would not listen to them, they told Haman in order to see whether Mordecai's resolve would prevail, for he had explained to them that he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not kneel or bow low to him, Haman was filled with rage, but he disdained having been told who Mordecai's people were. Haman plotted to do away with all the Jews, Mordecai's people, throughout the kingdom of Ahasuerus. In the first month, that is, the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, Pur, which means the lot, was cast before Haman concerning every day and every month until it fell on the 12th month, that is, the month of Adar. Haman then said to King Ahasuerus, "There is a certain people scattered and dispersed among the other peoples in all the provinces of your realm, whose laws are different from those of any other people, and who do not obey the king's laws. And it is not in your majesty's interest to tolerate them. If it please your majesty, let an edict be drawn for their destruction, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the stewards for the deposit in the royal treasury." Thereupon the king removed his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the foe of the Jews. And the king said, "The money and the people are yours to do with as you see fit." On the 13th day of the first month, the king's scribes were summoned, and a decree was issued, as Haman directed, to the king's satraps, to the governors of every province, and to the officials of every people, to every province in its own script, and to every people in its own language. The orders were issued in the name of King Ahasuerus and sealed with the king's signet. Accordingly, written instructions were dispatched by couriers to all the king's provinces to destroy, massacre, and exterminate all the Jews, young and old, children and women, on a single day, on the 13th day of the 12th month, that is, the month of Adar, and to plunder their possessions. The text of the document was to the effect that a law should be proclaimed in every single province. It was to be publicly displayed to all the peoples so that they might be ready for that day. The couriers went out post haste on the royal mission, and the decree was proclaimed in the fortress of Shushan. The king and Haman sat down to feast, but the city of Shushan was dumbfounded.
Chapter 4.
ידע את כל אשר נעשה, ויקרא מרדכי את בגדיו, וילבש שק ואפוד, ויצא בתוך העיר, ויזעק זעקה גדולה ומרה, ויבוא עד לפני שער המלך, כי אין לבוא אל שער המלך בלבוש שק, ובכל מדינה ומדינה מקום אשר דבר המלך ודתו מהגיע, אהיה בהל גדול ליהודים, וצום ובכי ומספד, שק ואפר יוצר לרבים, ותבואנה נערות אסתר ושרה יסף, והגידו לה, ותתחלחל המלכה מאוד, ותשלח בגדים להלביש את מרדכי, ולהסיר שקו מעליו, ולא קיבל. ותקרא אסתר להטח מסריסי המלך אשר העמיד לפניה, ותצווהו על מרדכי לדעת מה זה ועל מה זה.
When Mordecai learned all that had happened, Mordecai tore his clothes, making sure I put a thing that works here. How about this one? Yeah, that's good. Okay. Mordecai tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes. He went through the city, crying out loudly and bitterly until he came in front of the palace gate. For one could not enter the palace gate wearing sackcloth. Also, in every province that the king's command and decree reached, there was great moaning among the Jews, with fasting and weeping and wailing, and everybody lay in sackcloth and ashes. When Esther's maidens and eunuchs came and informed her, the queen was greatly agitated. She sent clothing to Mordecai to wear so that he might take off his sackcloth, but he refused. No, he said. Thereupon, Esther summoned Hathach, one of the eunuchs whom the king had appointed to serve her, and sent him to Mordecai to learn the why and wherefore of it all. And that's what Canterbury just read. Now I'm going to read the rest of it. Hathach went to Mordecai in the city square in front of the palace gate. And Mordecai told him all that had happened to him and about the money that Haman had offered to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. Boo. He also gave him the written text of the law that had been proclaimed in Shushan for their destruction. He bade him show it to Esther and inform her and charge her to go to the king and appeal to him and plead with him for her people. When Hathach came and delivered Mordecai's message to Esther, Esther told Hathach to take back to Mordecai the following reply. All the king's courtiers and the people of the king's provinces know that if any person, man or woman, enters the king's presence in the inner court without having been summoned, there is but one law for him, that he be put to death. Only if the king extends his golden scepter to him may he live. Now I have not been summoned to visit the king for the last 30 days. When Mordecai was told what Esther had said, Mordecai had this message to deliver to Esther. Do not imagine that you, of all the Jews, will escape with your life by being in the king's palace. On the contrary, if you keep silent in this crisis, relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from another quarter, while you and your father's house will perish. And who knows, perhaps you have attained royal position for just such a crisis. Then Esther sent back this answer to Mordecai. Go, assemble all the Jews who live in Shushan and fast in my behalf. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my maidens will observe the same fast. Then I shall go to the king, though it is contrary to the law, and if I am to perish, I shall perish. Que sera, sera. So, Mordecai went about the city and did just as Esther had commanded him.
Chapter 5, verse 1. ביום השלישי, ותלבש אסתר מלכות, ותעמוד בחצר בית המלך הפנימית, נוכח בית המלך, והמלך יושב על כיסא מלכותו בבית המלכות, נוכח פתח הבית, ויהי כראות המלך את אסתר המלכה עומדת בחצר, נשאו חן בעיניו, ויושת המלך לאסתר את שרביט הזהב אשר בידו, ותקרב אסתר ותגע בראש השרביט. ויאמר לך המלך, מלך אסתר המלכה, ומה בקשתך עד חצי המלכות וינתן לך? ותאמר אסתר, אם על המלך טוב, יבוא המלך והמן. היום אל המשתה אשר עשיתי לו.
Purim, you're encouraged to heckle and cheer, not just when you hear certain names. On the third day, Esther put on royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's palace, facing the king's palace, while the king was sitting on his royal throne. In the throne room facing the entrance of the palace, as soon as the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court, she won his favor. The king extended to Esther the golden scepter which he had in his hand, and Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. What troubles you, Queen Esther? The king asked, and what is your request? Even to half the kingdom it shall be granted you. If it please your majesty, Esther replied, let your majesty and Haman come today to the feast that I have prepared for you. The king commanded, tell Haman to hurry and do Esther's bidding. So the king and Haman came to the feast that Esther had prepared. At the wine feast, the king asked Esther, what is your wish? It shall be granted you. And what is your request? Even to half the kingdom it shall be fulfilled. My wish, replied Esther, my request. If your majesty will do me the favor, if it pleases your majesty to grant my wish and accede to my request, let your majesty and Haman Come to the feast which I will prepare for them, and tomorrow I will do your majesty's bidding. That day, Haman went out happy and light-hearted. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the palace gate, and Mordecai did not rise or even stir on his account, Haman was filled with rage at him. Nevertheless, Haman controlled himself and went home. He sent for his friends and his wife Zeresh. You can shake. You can shake. And Haman told them about his great wealth and his and his many sons, and all about how the king had promoted him and advanced him above the officials and the king's courtiers. What is more, said Haman, Queen Esther gave a feast, and besides the king, she did not have anyone but me. And tomorrow, too, I am invited by her along with the king. Yet all this means nothing to me every time I see that Jew Mordecai sitting in the palace gate. Then his wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, "Hear me out," she said. "Hear me out. I have a plan. Let a stake be put up, like 50 cubits high. And in the morning, ask the king to have Mordecai impaled on it. Then you can go gaily with the king to the feast." That proposal pleased Haman. And he had the stake put up.
Chapter 6. בלילה ההוא נדדה שנת המלך ויאמר להביא את ספר זיכרונות דברי הימים והיו נקראים לפני המלך וימצא כתוב אשר הגיד מרדכי על בגתן ותרש שני סריסי המלך משומרי הסף אשר ביקשו לשלוח יד במלך אחשוורוש ויאמר המלך מה נעשה יקר וגדולה למרדכי על זה ויאמרו נערי המלך משרתיו לא נעשה עמו דבר ויאמר המלך מי בחצר והמן בא לחצר בית המלך החיצונה לאמור למלך לדלות את מרדכי על העץ אשר הכין לו.
That night, sleep deserted the king. He ordered the book of records, the annals, to be brought, and it was read to the king. There it was found written that Mordecai has denounced Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs who guarded the threshold, who had plotted to do away with King Ahasuerus. What honor or advancement has been conferred on Mordecai for this? The king inquired. Nothing at all has been done for him, replied the king's servants, who were in attendance on him. Who is in the court? The king asked. For Haman had just entered the outer court of the royal palace to speak to the king about having Mordecai impaled on the stake he had prepared for him. It is Haman standing in the court. The king's servants answered him. Let him enter, said the king. Haman entered. And the king asked him, what should be done for a man whom the king desires to honor? Haman said to himself, whom would the king desire to honor more than me? So Haman said to the king, for the man whom the king desires to honor.
Let royal garb which the king has worn be brought, and a horse on which the king has ridden, and on whose head a royal diadem has been set. And let the attire and the horse be put in the charge of one of the king's noble courtiers. And let the man whom the king desires to honor be attired and paraded on the horse through the city square, while they proclaim before him, this is what is done for the man whom the king desires to honor. Quick then, said the king to Haman, get the garb and the horse, and as you have said, and do this to Mordecai the Jew, who sits in the king's gate. Omit nothing of all you have proposed. So Haman took the garb and the horse and arrayed Mordecai and paraded him through the city square, and he proclaimed before him, this is what is done for the man whom the king desires to honor. Then Mordecai returned to the king's gate, while Haman hurried home, his head covered in mourning. There Haman told his wife Zeresh and all his friends everything that had befallen him. His advisors and his wife Zeresh said to him, if Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of Jewish stock, you will not overcome him. You will fall before him to your ruin. While they were still speaking with him, the king's eunuchs arrived and hurriedly brought Haman to the banquet which Esther had prepared.
Chapter 5. 7. That's what I said.
Just want to make sure you're paying attention.
ויבוא המלך והמן לשתות עם אסתר המלכה, ויאמר המלך לאסתר, גם ביום השני במשתה היין, מה שאלתך אסתר המלכה ותינתן לך, ומה בקשתך עד חצי המלכות ותעש. ותען אסתר המלכה ותאמר, אם מצאתי חן בעיניך המלך, ואם על המלך טוב, תינתן לי נפשי בשאלתי, ועמי בבקשתי. כי נמכרנו אני ועמי להשמיד, להרוג ולאבד, ואילו לעבדים ולשפחות נמכרנו, החרשתי, כי אין הצער שווה בנזק המלך.
So the king and Haman came to the feast with Queen Esther. And on the second day, the king asked Esther at the wine feast, "What is your wish, Queen Esther? It shall be granted you. And what is your request? Even to half the kingdom it shall be fulfilled." Queen Esther replied, "If your majesty will do me the favor, and if it pleases your majesty, let my life be granted me as my wish, and my people as my request. For we have been sold, my people and I, to be destroyed, massacred, and exterminated. Had we only been sold as bondmen and bondwomen, I would have kept silent, for the adversary is not worthy of the king's trouble. Thereupon, King Ahasuerus demanded of Queen Esther, "Who is he, and where is he who dared to do this?" "The adversary and enemy," replied Esther, "is the evil Haman." And Haman cringed in terror before the queen and the king. The king, in his fury, left the wine feast for the palace garden, while Haman remained to plead with Queen Esther for his life, for he saw that the king had resolved to destroy him. When the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet room, Haman was lying prostrate on the couch on which Esther reclined. "Does he mean," cried the king, "to ravish the queen in my own palace?" No sooner did these words leave the king's lips than Haman's face was covered. Then Harbonah, one of the eunuchs in attendance on the king, said, "What is more, a stake is standing at Haman's house, 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai, the man whose words saved the king." "Impale him on it," the king ordered. So they impaled Haman on the stake which he had put up for Mordecai, and the king's fury abated.
Wow, so many talented readers. Chapter 8. ביום ההוא נתן המלך אחשוורוש לאסתר המלכה את בית המן צורר היהודים ומרדכי בא לבני המלך כי גידה אסתר מהולה ויאסר המלך את טבתו אשר העביר מהמן וידע למרדכי ותשם אסתר את מרדכי על בית המן ותאסף אסתר ותדבר לפני המלך ותיפול לפני רגליו ותף ותתחנן לו להעביר את הרע המן האגגי ואת מחשבתו אשר חשב על היהודים ויושת המלך לאסתר את שרביט הזהב ותקום אסתר ותעמוד לפני המלך.
So the very next day, King Ahasuerus gave all the property of Haman, the enemy of the Jews, to Queen Esther, every little bit, all to Esther. King Ahasuerus, this is Esther speaking, I've got something special to tell you. I want you to know that Mordecai is my stepfather. In which case, here is this ring, which I took back from that jerk Haman. Here you go, Esther. Give it to Mordecai. Tell him it's a gift from me, Ahasuerus. And Esther, you must put Mordecai in charge of Haman's property. Oh, mighty King Ahasuerus, if you look down, you'll see me at your feet weeping. Please, please, and for my people, please stop the evil plotted by Haman, the Agitite, against us. Here, Esther, here is my golden scepter. Take it in your soft and delicate hands. O King, if it seems right for you, then please, please can you make it public and revoke that insane plot which Haman has come up with to annihilate the Jews throughout all your provinces, because there's absolutely no way that I can bear the disaster that this insanity will bring on my people. So listen up, Esther and Mordecai. I am the king. And Esther, number one, you've been given all of Haman's property. Number two, I've already taken care of Haman. for scheming against the Jews. There, you see, he's already on the stake. And I give you permission. You can write on my official letterhead whatever you wish regarding the Jews, and you can use my special seal. Oh, King, great. Today, the 23rd day of the 3rd month, that is the month of Sivan, I'm going to summon all the king's scribes, and you, Mordecai, you're going to dictate to them the words of the letter, and to make sure that every province, 127 in all, from India to Nubia, all the governors and officials are going to get the letter in their own script and their own language, including the Jews. And I want the letters to be delivered by mounted couriers, not schlocky delivery on foot, but riding the king's special horses, the ones bred by none other than the royal stud. Mordecai, here's what you must dictate: that the king allows the Jews of every city to protect themselves as best they can against an attack, and make sure that the letters get delivered by the 13th day of the 12th month, that is Adar. And just to be clear, the text of the letter is going to be a law. That's right, it's a law, and publicly displayed so that Jews can be ready and prepared just in case. The decree was proclaimed in Shushan's fortress, and the courtiers galloped off with the letters. Mordecai said, I'm going to leave your court now, King Ahasuerus. I have to run off, and I really want to say how much I appreciate these royal robes of blue and white, and not to mention this most magnificent and well-fitting crown of gold that you gave me, and to top it all, what do you call this thing, this mantle of fine linen and purple wool? And I can hear what to me sounds like joyous cries rising up. The city of Shushan is ringing with joy. Wow! Joy and light and gladness and happiness and honor. And in every province and in every city, when the king's command and decree arrived, there was gladness and joy among the Jews, a feast and a holiday. And many of the people of the land professed to be Jews, for the fear of the Jews had fallen upon them.
Chapter 9 out of 10.
ובשנים-עשר חודש הוא חודש אדר, ב13 יום בו אשר הגיע דבר המלך ודעתו לעשותו. ביום אשר שיברו אויבי היהודים לשלוט בהם, ונהפוך הוא אשר ישתתו היהודים המה בשונאיהם. נקהלו היהודים בעריהם בכל מדינות המלך אחשוורוש לשלוח יד במקשי רעתם, ואיש לא עמד לפניהם, כי נפל פחדם על כל העמים. וכל שרי המדינות והשתרפנים והפקות עושה המלאכה אשר למלך מנשאים את היהודים, כי נפל פחד מרדכי עליהם, כי גדול מרדכי בבית המלך ושומעו הולך בכל המדינות, כי האיש מרדכי הולך וגדול.
Chapter 9 in summary. We won! Woohoo! And the Jews had a rout and suffered nary a scratch, which is how we know that it is a fairy tale, because that is not how life works. Nonetheless, it's a story that we love and wrestle with. And in chapter 9, we watch the holiday of Purim grow and stretch. It starts with a battle and with a royal raucous feast and carnival and bacchanal, but over time we see the Jewish people giving presents to one another to mark the occasion. And most importantly, what gets added on in chapter 9 is the custom, actually, the commandment of Purim to give gifts to those who are less fortunate. It's a quintessential Jewish festival. In the end, we remember those that do not have, and we give them an extra portion of goodness and light and love. All of these festivals and the way that they were celebrated, all of these customs were recorded in a scroll, and that scroll gave us the holiday of Purim. Chapter 10. Can our screen share keep up? וישם המלך אחשוורוש מס על הארץ ואיי הים וכל מעשה תקפו וגבורתו ופרשת גדולת מרדכי אשר גידלו המלך הלא הם כתובים על ספר דברי הימים למלכי מדי ופרס כי מרדכי היהודי משנה למלך אחשוורוש וגדול היהודים ורצוי לרוב אחיו דורש טוב לעמו ודובר שלום לכל זרעו. Chapter 10 in English.
King Ahasuerus imposed tribute on the mainland and the islands. All his mighty and powerful acts and a full account of the greatness to which the king advanced Mordecai are recorded in the annals of the kings of Media and Persia. For Mordecai the Jew ranked next to King Ahasuerus and was highly regarded by the Jews and popular with the multitude of his brethren. He sought the good for his people and interceded for the welfare of all his kindred.
And we've lived mostly happily ever after. Rabbi Reuben, Harry Potter, will you lead our closing blessings, please? And stay put for a special song to close the evening.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם האל הרב את ריבנו ועדן את דיננו ברוך אתה אדוני הנפרע לעמו ישראל מכל צריהם האל המושיע. Blessed are you, God, ruler of the universe, who has been there for us through our most terrible trials and has allowed us to be here on this day for the reading of the Megillah.
Amen. You know what? Whoop! Let's start it again because we were not ready. Cast on stage, sorry. Okay, and we need our screen share. We didn't build in a queue for this last song. It's okay. Are you guys ready? We should have a screen share first. Please sing along with us. Okay, from the top, please. We paid our dues, you all know it, time after time. We've done our sentence, but committed no crime. And those mistakes, we've made a few. We've had our share of sorrows and grief, but we always come through. Shalom, answer the call to fix the world and everything that goes close with it. Give thanks for all. No matzah ball. We consider it a challenge before the whole of creation, and we're gonna fall, and we need to go on. Oh, say shalom, Happy Purim!
Chag Sameach!
Sameach.
Friends, we're going to just have a couple thank yous and then sign off. President Charlotte?
Chag Sameach, everyone. Before you leave, please listen to the thank yous. That's as loud as I think it's going to get. So, first of all, I hope you had a wonderful time tonight. This was such a joy to be able to be in person and have this event. And obviously, this doesn't happen on its own. To Rabbi Shana, who wrote this spiel, directed it, and worked endlessly to get tonight moving. She deserves so much credit. Rabbi Shana. To Cantor Rudy, Rabbi Reuben, Rabbi Chaya, to Ellen, and to Cantor Andy in Los Angeles, who worked tirelessly with the tech, to Rabbi Chaim and Karen and Sue, to the tech crew here tonight. Thank you. Thank you just doesn't do it. To Amy Maller, the executive director of Or Shalom, who tirelessly worked for tonight. I told Amy I hope she can get out of bed tomorrow morning. She is exhausted. And to Hannah, who was in charge of the food, to Naomi, who worked with her so diligently, to Talia Brass from Tikvah, who is very busy. She has a bat mitzvah coming this Shabbat. And to all of you, I hope. Oh, I didn't recognize you. I'm sorry. To Rabbi Batshir, who helped a lot, and to Cantor Barry, who read tonight, to everyone who read and participated, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. This is truly a beautiful evening. And if I have forgotten anyone, I'm really sorry. And as you walk out the door, pick up your Humentaschen. There's one for everybody at the door. And say thank you to Amy as you walk out the door. She deserves so much. Have a wonderful Purim.
Yeah,
yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And just two more things. One is I know that Sharon Blevis, you are here with us somewhere there. Actually, Sharon, you are always with us. And I know that you are out there and you have a few words to say as well. There she is. Go for it, Sharon. Kirk says hi, sweetheart. You have to unmute, Sharon.
Sorry, they wouldn't unmute me. So here I am. I am one of the co-presidents of Tikvah. I want to echo everything that Charlotte said. This was truly, truly a cast of thousands, from our clergy to our staff to a lot of volunteers, and perhaps especially to our tech. Everyone worked very, very hard to make this truly a Chag Purim Sameach. And it was wonderful for both the people in person and for those of us who had to be on Zoom. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everybody in the room and to the communities of Tikvah, Ner Tamid, or Shalom, and Beth, or Chag Sameach to everybody.
Chag Sameach. Thank you, Sharon. So that beautiful blessing that we recited earlier, that our wizards recited for us, the Shehechianu. In it, we say that we have arrived in this moment because we've been sustained. For everybody who sustained us with pizza, with salad, with the Megillah, with entertainment, we give thanks. Please bus your tables when you leave. There are bins in the back. So just pick up what's in front of you on the table, and you can recycle it. And safe home, my friends. We'll get together again. May it be so.